From Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News.
Hello, and welcome to the 2011 edition of the Missouri Urban Journalism Workshop. I'm Katie Grunick. The Columbia Police and Fire Departments have made a number of changes in the almost 10 years since the terrorist attacks of September 11th. Avery Franklin of Germantown High School in Germantown, Tennessee, looks at a few of those changes and what some Columbia residents think about them.
They knew they weren't coming out. And you want to scream, don't go in there, don't go in there. That's your job, that's what you do.
A job like no other. Since the September 11th attacks, Columbia Police and Fire Departments have worked even harder to make Columbians feel as safe as possible.
We've had to recognize things in our community that may or may not be terrorism targets. So we've had to go through that process, and then also kind of thinking about what we would do if an event such as that happened. So a little bit more focus on those things caused us to have to look at some different issues than we would normally have prior to 9/11.
Winnicke says a greater emphasis on training is part of that, but increased security is another issue.
Sunlight coming in right now because one of the garage doors is open. But usually winter, summer, spring, the doors are closed. It used to be open all the time for visitors, neighbors, people walking by to, be more welcoming, welcome them in. But now we keep them closed and we keep them locked.
The terrorist attacks also changed people's attitudes towards policemen and firefighters.
I think it reminded people that how serious the job can be and is.
I think that generally people came together, and I know I did, and it was there was a threat that existed for the police department, and the police maybe more respected. And
recognizing that things can change in an instant, and that's kind of the daily life of someone in emergency services.
I would like to tell them that they're doing a good job and keep up the good work.
Thank you for your efforts, and thank you for keeping us safe.
Safety is key for both city departments.
Our job's here to keep Columbia safe.
The relationship that the Columbia residents have with the fire and police departments is what makes the community feel safe, and they are thankful for all the hard work that they do.
We have a very good relationship with our community. We love them, they love us. They need something, we come. It's a good relationship, We would do the same for them.
Avery Franklin, mujw, Columbia.
Hello, I'm Robbie Weber. Patriotism and military service often go hand in hand. As Samuel Ian Paris of Boonville High School in Boonville, Missouri found out, the thoughts of military men and women who proudly serve are more patriotic than ever before.
These images changed the course of our nation and mark the beginning of the war on terror.
We were scheduled to leave on September 19th. As soon as we watched it on TV, we knew, since we were already deploying, we figured that our carrier would be going right to that area to respond.
I remembered as a young Marine who had my life, and everyone else around me was changed very drastically. It doesn't mean that there are any less of them.
The reasons they have served and continue to serve vary.
It was a personal thing that it was something I want to be because I felt like it was something that was bigger than me. And also, I felt like it was something that not everybody can do.
There were a lot of folks who had gotten out of the service, they'd done their time, and they had gotten out, and they wanted to come back in and serve because of 9/11.
I would say that most people wanted to serve their country regardless, and if it happened to be because of 9/11, and that's happened to going on at the time, then so be it.
And in serving their country, these military men and women have all made sacrifices.
For the other person to be gone on a deployment, it takes a special individual to be able to have the strength and inner courage to go through something like that. She's a very strong woman. She stood by me through, she ended up standing by me through that, and we got married shortly after I came back.
When you sign your name on the line on your contract, you're essentially signing a check to the United States for your life, and if they need to cash it, you're saying go ahead and cash it.
I'm paid as a professional warrior to do my business. Whether I agree with it or not, it doesn't really even matter.
But this September's anniversary marks more than just a date.
Well, this will be a very special one, not only because it's the 10th anniversary, but because we recently killed Osama bin Laden. And, hopefully we can kind of move on to the next chapter in our country's history.
Samuel Ian Paris, MUJW, Columbia.
Hello, I'm Avery Franklin. With the 10th anniversary of 9/11 coming up, kids will once again be reminded of what happens. One place kids can be taught is at their local schools. MUJW's Katie Grunick from Coriezu Academy in St. Louis, Missouri, found one mom who strongly supports the day being taught.
Cody, you just need to stay closer, okay?
Linda Kilpatrick enjoys going to Stevens Lake Park with her grandson Cody. Like many Americans, though, she's still haunted by 9/11. Her son, Jacob, enlisted in the military 3 days after the attacks.
I wanted him back so bad when he was over there. Last thought every night, first thought every morning.
Jacob has since returned home from Africa, but this is partly why Linda thinks schools should teach children about 9/11.
They need to know what can happen. They need to know that there will be peace someday when they know what's going on.
Some history teachers at a training conference earlier in the week say they feel the same way Linda does.
And I think it's good for them to understand what it was, but maybe more importantly, how it relates to their lives today.
And so we talk about the events and we talk about the culture, and then with teaching government, we talk a lot about tolerance, the amendments, and the freedoms we have.
While more and more educators are finding ways to teach their students about 9/11, soldier moms like Linda have their kids serving in the aftermath of the 2001 attacks.
I am extremely proud of my son for doing what he did.
It'll be a few years before Cody begins learning about 9/11 in school. But because of his uncle's experience, his lessons may start sooner and from a closer connection. I'm Katie Grunick, MUJW, Columbia.
Hello, I'm Samuel Ian Paris. The September 11th attacks stunned the United States. The media were one of the many entities that took a hit. Reporter Robbie Weaver from Germantown High School in Germantown, Tennessee, looks at how that day affected the world of journalism.
It was pretty common 10 years ago.
If you remember, right after September 11th, 2001, everyone had the flag lapel.
But not everyone. KOMU News Director Stacy Wolfel would not allow his anchors to wear a flag pin on air.
I was a young journalist, and I thought, okay, Stacy's a smart guy. He's thought about this more than me, so I'm sure he has his reasons, but I thought he's going to get himself fired over this.
I think at the time there was a chance that could be perceived as being pro-government, pro-administration, and I just didn't see any reason to do that.
After the September 11th attacks, patriotism was as strong as ever, and some say even for journalists who were supposed to remain objective at all times, even during tragedies such as this.
The point of journalism is to give people information.
Caroline Dohak McCrary is a lifestyles editor at the Columbia Daily Tribune, and she feels that it became hard to tell the story without becoming emotionally attached.
You can't absolutely be unbiased and you can't absolutely be objective, but the point is to give people enough information that is factual and maybe multifaceted as you can.
But how did you stay unbiased when you saw the attacks?
Once you hit work mode, I think you kind of go on autopilot, but there were certainly moments during the newscast and all throughout the next several days that where you just thought, how in the world has this happened? And it was just, emotional.
So much so that Bailey says she was shocked and in awe on 9/11 and says tears came to her eyes.
And then I thought, I got to get to work. And so that's where I headed.
It probably made it a little bit harder because there was a upswell of emotion in the public.
Yet Wolfel says his directions for reporters remain the same today. Adapt to the story. Because he says telling the story takes priority over emotions.
Someone who's killed in a car accident that's just as sad a story as a single person who was killed in the World Trade Center.
He says you have to do your job because that's your job. So the question remains, did reporting change after 9/11?
Interestingly, I think there probably wasn't an immediate impact.
Even if covering an eye-opening, life-altering disaster. Robbie Weaver, MUJW, Columbia.
Thanks for joining us at MUJW.
We hope you enjoyed our program.
For more information, go to our website at komu.com.
We'll see you next summer.